What's good, everybody? It's Batman, and we are doing a unique reaction. We did something really similar to this when we were reacting to a Noodles video. It was a Noodles video and a Noodles debate against Swag Kage, to where Jay was reacting and I was reacting to what he was saying and to the video as well. So it was like really interesting, and that's what we're kind of gonna do today. It's been a while since we've done something like that, and I'll be honest, I would only be willing to react to somebody that's obviously competent in line of scaling and very objective and reasonable, et cetera, and not a sophist or a rat, you name it. So if it's like Jay the Great, Swag, Six, whatever, et cetera, I can go on and on and on. There's so many Naruto YouTubers that are actually legit and solid. Okay, like, I absolutely love to react to see their thoughts and takes upon whatever's being said, because 9 out of 10 times I would be in line of agreement. You know what I mean? So, like, it's just really funny, and I know it kind of gives some entertainment value for you guys, too, so that's what we're going to be doing here. It's Jay the Great reacting to Dygoknight's ranking the Akatsuki from weakest to strongest. I'm hoping this is a good video. We also will be reacting to Pain versus Kakuzu Dygoknight video, because I heard that was one of his go-to videos. I've technically seen it, but I don't remember it at all because it's been so long. And I do want to have that on my YouTube just to kind of show some positive light for Dygoknight, because he can make really good videos. He can. I know a lot of people are dogging him right now or giving him a lot of negativity, whatever, blah, blah, because certain takes and scaling videos that he's been doing lately have been kind of rough, and be honest with you, even in my opinion as well. Like, it's like, what the fuck, you know what I mean? So, regardless whether if he's just purposely trolling and trying to get a reaction out of everyone, or if he's dead ass meaning that, who knows? Unless I speak with him, I'll never know. But we're going to check out this video. We're going to see what Jay has to say about it too. See what Daigo has to say about this topic, ranking the Akatsuki from weakest to strongest. This topic is extremely contentious when it gets to the low tiers and middle tiers. Obviously, when it gets to like the high tier and big boys, that's not the contentious part. Well, comparing them to each other, that is, but not obviously to the lows and mids. You know what I mean? So this is a very incredible topic. Everybody has all kinds of views and takes. You know what I mean? And unless you're a ding dong like Noodles or some other crazy sophist or rat, to where basically they have some outrageous Akatsuki ranking scaling, then there you go. But for the majority of things, popularity wise, or commonly wise, or just percentage in the Naruto community, it's a generic Akatsuki listing, and you normally have like Obito on top, Itachi Pain, or it'd be Nagato, Obito Itachi, or Nagato Itachi and Obito, etc. It goes on, and then you eventually have like Kisame, and then it goes further from there. That's normally the trend of how everything normally goes. But once again, it's extremely interesting. So many ways to extrapolate all the evidence that we have, analyze everything as a whole, and kind of just go from there. So let's see what happens. Video's already going to be as long as it's going to be, and let's get it.
Yo, what is up, everybody? It's Jay the Great here, and welcome back to another Naruto reaction video here today. And today we have yet another video by Dygoknight, and as you can tell by the title, the ranking of the Akatsuki is one of the oldest and most famous topics in the entire Naruto fandom, rightfully so. The Akatsuki organization is one of the most revered and respected entities in all of anime, I would argue, and certainly one of the most appealing for many reasons, rightfully so. So, with their ranking, like I said, certainly being a very fun topic to discuss, a debatable topic, I might add, especially at the top of the list, of course. And I'm curious to see what Daigo has to say about this, who he has at the top, who he has at the bottom, and where certain individuals will go on the list. I'm certainly intrigued. It can certainly vary from individual to individual, and I will certainly...
This is either going to be a goated scaling video, or it's going to be a sus video, or it's going to be a mixture with both.
It's my agreement and or disagreement as far as Daigo's arguments are concerned. Before we begin, I know I really appreciate it. Hit that like button, turn on bell notifications to stay updated with yours truly, and if you're new and you enjoy, man, you mess with the kid, make sure to hit that sub button, because once you do, you become part of the family forever. Let's not waste any more time, screen. See what Daigo has to say about this one.
Alright.
Today we're gonna be ranking the Akatsuki in terms of strength, and I know everyone, their aunts, have done a video like this on YouTube, but this is actually gonna be the correct way of ranking the Akatsuki, and not the incorrect way you're gonna see around YouTube. No, all jokes aside,
it's really, to say like, oh, this is the most definitive and concrete, I don't know about that one, Chief. Like, unless Kishimoto actually gives us a ranking, you can't make a claim like that, it's a very bold, high claim. I agree with Jay.
Enjoy this type of content, and let me just remind you that this isn't necessarily a list of who would win against every other member of the Akatsuki, and more of an overall strength analysis. Also, no filler characters. I'm just gonna be ranking the 10 core members in Shippuden because that's the Akatsuki as far as I'm concerned. Number 10, the weakest member of the Akatsuki is Hidan. It's very simple, really. He says it himself that he is the slowest member of the Akatsuki. His moves are not very elaborate. He is also the stupidest member of the Akatsuki, and being dumb in a Naruto battle isn't something that's gonna help you out quite a lot. He's also very much a one-trick pony. He has one jutsu. Granted, it is a very powerful jutsu. If you get caught in it, you die. But if you know how to avoid the jutsu, it's pretty easy to handle. Also, the jutsu itself has some very specific requirements that may be difficult to attain in the middle of a fight. And any ninja with a mid-tier defensive jutsu would be able to absolutely negate Hidan's attacks, and therefore he wouldn't be able to draw any blood. Hidan lost to Team Asuma when he was fighting with Shikamaru and Izumo and Kotetsu, and then Kakuzu had to come in and just assemble him back together essentially, and they didn't really have intel in that fight, so it's not as though it's impossible to deal with Hidan's jutsu. And then he was soloed by Shikamaru in a pretty spectacular fashion, and sure that Shikamaru had prep time, but Shikamaru isn't beating anyone else in the Akatsuki with all the prep time in the world. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. And a lot of people are gonna say, no, it's Zetsu. Zetsu's the weakest member of the Akatsuki. But let's be real here. Zetsu destroys Hidan any day of the week. And I'm gonna get to Zetsu. Alright, now let's get to number 9. Kakuzu. Yes, Kakuzu is the second.
Alright, before we move on to number 9, I'm gonna say this first. To give some credit to Hidan, and the placement of Hidan is fine, I guess. I don't think he's weaker than Zetsu, and I think Zetsu would fall to him. I mean, Zetsu doesn't ever really combat anybody. And yes, he did backstab.
As a matter of fact, to support where Jay's kind of going the route, you could make arguments for Zetsu, but there is a statement where Obito does to say flat out, like, Zetsu, you're not a combat fighter, blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. Like, you're not designed to fight anybody. Like, no, like, don't do that. Because he was willing to fight and help out Sasuke against, like, Naruto, Kakashi, and Sakura. And Obito was like, no, yada, yada, like, you're just not built like that. Just stop. You know what I mean? Like, Zetsu's more for just intel gathering, analyzing, you know what I mean, extracting information, communication, or just catching you off guard, you know what I mean, like, or betraying you, or manipulating or deceiving. That's all he's known for, you know what I mean? Not to do, like, a full battle. Now, to be fair, he does fight against, like, KCM Naruto's shadow clone, and he's even, like, able to grab KCM Naruto's shadow clone, like, with a vine or whatever, like, to his leg, and trip him or whatever. You know, so he's able to do that too. And then when KCM Naruto went to use, like, his full speed, because he's not used to utilizing the full speed yet, like, he actually fucks up and hits, like, something else instead of Zetsu. So Zetsu probably would have got speed blitz at that moment, to be honest, but he fucks up, and then, like, the dude with, like, I forgot his name, I can't remember, but he becomes the Misakage for Boruto. But he eventually comes with his ninja swordsman weapon and is actually able to speed blitz Zetsu. Like, so Zetsu's kind of trash, bro. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna be real with you. If that dude went to go fight Hidan, I do think Hidan's beating his ass. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think Zetsu's beating Hidan. Like I said, you could formulate arguments, just ways, whatever you name it. But, like, it's, I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like narratively and with the statements we have provided for Zetsu, he's just not built like that, you know?
Bruh. But come on. He never engages in combat against anybody. He admits inferiority to many individuals, etc. But the point is, Hidan's defense is certainly not easy to deal with. It took one of the smartest and quite possibly the smartest individual in the verse to deduce how to exactly counter it, and he had to use a very elaborate scheme to do so successfully. Right, so Hidan certainly just isn't fodder. That's certainly not the case. His ability is troublesome, for sure. But I just wanted to say that to give some credit to Hidan.
And Hidan was able to fight against Kakashi, 3 Tomo Shippuden Kakashi, able to fight against Asuma. Like, yeah, some decent showings, bro. Yeah, you know?
Weakest member of the Akatsuki, and many of you
Oh, also, he had a 1v1 fight against Kakuzu. Manga, anime, you name it. And fucking, like, and he was able to take one of Kakuzu's hearts away, too. You have that as well. And he's also has many feats to show he's on the same level as Kakuzu base to base as well. So you have that too. So just saying, bro, you know what I mean? Hit on, he's not poop, you know what I mean? So
I'm angry right now because I am spitting facts here. And by the way, even though Kakuzu is the second weakest member of the Akatsuki, he is leagues above Hidan. So this is a pretty substantial jump in strength from the 10th to 9th place anyway. But among everyone else, Kakuzu is the weakest. He has a powerful defensive jutsu in the stone skin, which can be countered by lightning style and just powerful jutsus such as the Rasen Shuriken. He has 5 lives, which is something good for him, but we see that they can be taken out rather quickly, and he seems to be better than Kakashi at Taijutsu. And a lot of people cite that fight against Kakashi as a magnificent feat, but beginning of Shippuden, Kakashi wasn't exactly the peak of his strength. Quite the opposite, in fact. Also, it wasn't as though that fight was very fair. For a decent portion of the battle, Kakuzu had Hidan's help while he was fighting against Kakashi, and Kakashi was essentially protecting Ino and Choji, who were just completely useless in the fight. So he had some disadvantages in that fight, and Kakuzu wasn't really destroying Kakashi. Granted, he would have beaten Kakashi if Shikamaru didn't destroy one of his hearts through the little plan with Hidan's blood, but Kakashi even states that he didn't use his Mangekyo and he would have used if Naruto and the reinforcements didn't arrive, and I'm pretty sure he would have beaten Kakuzu with Kamui. Can't really counter that. There's absolutely no way he can do anything against Kamui. And let's talk about Kakuzu's offensive jutsus. Well, they're just basic elemental jutsus, which are powerful, don't get me wrong, but if you want to go above a certain tier of strength in the Naruto verse, you need more than that, and everyone else in the Akatsuki has more powerful jutsus than that, than just simple elemental jutsus. Yes, he has all of the elements, but so what? Kakashi has all of them as well. Sarutobi has all of them as well, and he's much more powerful. It's not like having every single nature transformation is gonna make you a god. But the worst thing about Kakuzu, and this is really the reason why I'm putting him in second to last place here, is because he got blitzed by beginning of Shippuden Naruto twice. 2 times in a row, Naruto was able to...
Hey, Daigo's right. Hey, Daigo's finally spitting now, though. He said it. You heard it. Blitzed.
Blitz Kakuzu with the
Fuck
Rasen
Kakuzu.
Shuriken, and it wasn't very difficult to see Naruto.
Let's go ahead and give some applause to Dygoknight. He's actually spitting facts here.
Yep.
He did get blitzed. His raw durability. His raw durability failed.
Oh, shit.
Him being the deadliest in the Akatsuki wasn't enough.
That's fucking funny as
So
fuck.
Daigo's actually spitting facts here. He was blitzed by Naruto with his slight QBM.
Shit. And then the way Jay's like attitude and energy, it just gets me every time. He's like, this motherfucker's spitting. And he's like, yeah, Kakuzu's fucking trash.
Mistake by Daigo. Let's continue.
Coming, Naruto used 3 shadow clones to distract Kakuzu before he blitzed him with the Rasen Shuriken twice. That Naruto had a very small QBM that's practically negligible, and he doesn't have Sage Mode or anything else. That Naruto isn't very powerful aside from the Rasen Shuriken itself, which anyone else in the Akatsuki except for Hidan would easily be able to dodge. And Kakuzu failed to do so twice. The first, the Rasen Shuriken fizzled out because Naruto wasn't practiced at it, and then the second one hit and defeated Kakuzu. And I see every other Akatsuki member here, aside from Hidan, doing much better in that fight. And you can argue that Kakuzu was starred and all that, but it was actually said that Kakuzu powered up when he fused the wind and the fire hearts within himself. Of course, people are gonna come and tell me that, oh man, he fought the 2 tails. Wow, he fought the 2 tails. 12-year-old Naruto fought the 1 tail and won. Whoa, that's such a great feat. He fought the 2 tails. Number 8, Zetsu. And I'm referring to the Zetsu that was in the Akatsuki, the original black and white Zetsu. So when we discuss Zetsu's strengths, we have to take into account the powers from both the black and the white Zetsus. And most people forget the Zetsu powers, which are not weak at all actually. Black Zetsu during the war arc, the same black Zetsu that's been throughout the entire Shippuden Shippuden era, was able to keep up with Mei, the 5th Mizukage, her guard of 20 or so Jonins, and then a KCM Naruto clone arrived, and Black Zetsu was still keeping up with them. He even tripped KCM-1 Naruto, and he missed a Rasen Shuriken. And we know how fast KCM-1 is. It was relative to the 4th Raikage, which was the fastest shinobi alive at the time. Black Zetsu was then only defeated by Chojuro extending his sword or whatever, and he wasn't even killed. He was able to get away. Also, Black Zetsu has wood style and a pretty powerful wood style, which is why he was able to deal with so many ninjas at the same time, and powerful ninjas at that. Can you imagine Kakuzu trying to do that? Mei was just gonna melt him like she was melting Sasuke Susanoo, and she couldn't do much against Black Zetsu. White Zetsu, the original White Zetsu, the one that was fused with Black Zetsu for like half of the entire show, he also has some very interesting powers that people just forget for some reason. Of course that the White Zetsus that fought in the war weren't very powerful, but the original had the Spore power, that one he used in the 5 Kage Summit, that no one in the entire summit, no one could detect that. And that's a very strong jutsu. It drains the chakra from the target, and you can put it back on someone else. White Zetsu can also transform into other people, which is pretty good, especially his transformation that mimics the chakra, so you can't even tell him apart from the real person because the chakra is the same. So Naruto has to come with the bullshit power of good and whatever and feel the hatred in Zetsu, which is a little bit of an asshole, but that's how it works. Zetsu is pretty powerful, man. You shouldn't downplay Zetsu. And if you want to say, oh, he destroyed Madara, I mean, Jupidara was killed by Zetsu. Come on. It's just... If you want to put Zetsu in first place because of that, feel free, but you don't have my respect. Number 7, Sasori of the Red Sand. And yeah, sure, a lot of
Okay, so he had Zetsu as number fucking 6. That's interesting. But above Kaksu and Hit-On, you name it. So I'm going to find that one statement for you guys really quick. Zetsu basically says, I'll fight in your stead. We need the 9 tails Jinchuriki anyway. And then Obito immediately like just shuts that down, and he's like, no. He's like, Zetsu, capturing Naruto is beyond you. 9 tails is too tough for a non-battle type like you. We'll let Sasuke take care of it, blah blah, etc. Once I'm able to set up their fight and arrange it, etc. So basically, okay, with what you just saw right there, all right. And I just kind of wanted to show you guys that real quick. Is Zetsu is a non-battle type. Like, he's not designed for battling. He's not designed to be, fighting people like that, and etc. And, and Obito just tells him flat out, like, capturing Naruto is beyond you. I mean, like, hell no. So, for him to be above Kakuzu and Hit-On is a little bit crazy of a claim. You know what I mean? And that's why even Jay kind of reacted the way he did, because it just really didn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, huh? Like what? You know what I mean? Like, so, just kind of wanted to put that out there. But anyways, we'll continue the video and get things moving forward, so.
Let me explain why. Sasori is a somewhat limited ninja. He doesn't have a very powerful attack. The most dangerous thing he has is his poison, which is very deadly, but it's not the hardest thing for you to counter. Sakura was able to counter the cloud of poison with a paper bomb. Granted, if Sasori hits anyone with a poison, they're probably gone, and if you don't have an antidote like Sakura had in the fight. I can easily see everyone else on this list that's above him being able to dodge that jutsu, and high-level shinobis being able to dodge the poison as well. He has the 3rd Kazekage puppet, which has the Iron Sand, a pretty powerful jutsu, but it's definitely not as strong as the original when the 3rd Kazekage was actually alive. There's just no way it's as powerful because we can clearly see that Gaara's Sand in the same arc is 20 times more powerful than the Iron Sand. Sakura is able to shrug off the Iron Sand.
How is that? Like, that don't make no fucking sense. That was a big claim, Daigo. You gotta prove that, bro. What the fuck? Now, if let's say I wanted to entertain that and give that to him, I guess one way you can maybe say that it could potentially be weaker than the 3rd Kazekage is like Orochimaru uses his Edo for the Kazekage. and his third Kazekage was able to equal and stalemate Sasori's, Kazekage puppet. So, that's from the anime and the game. So, if you want to go that route, I guess you could say it's slightly weaker, you know what I mean? Compared to, like, full power or whatever. But to say it's, like, massively weaker, or Gaara's fucking sand is, like, 20 times more strong or some shit, like, that's, like, what the fuck? Where are you getting that from, brother? That's just wild. But overall, it's still the third Kazekage. And unfortunately, Kishimoto provides no quantification, provides nothing, etc. We only have the anime and the game to extrapolate, really, if anything. Okay, and around that time, that Orochimaru, like, we don't know what version of the Edo that is, unfortunately, whether if it's, like, the same Edo's, caliber of, like, what's shown in the war arc, or if it's the same Edos as shown in fucking Part 1 Naruto, where they're fucking dog shit. So we don't know, but what I can say, okay, is it's still extremely fucking powerful. It's really scary to even be thought of. Even Chio, like, got really fucking concerned and was really worried. Okay, so I feel like there's plenty of narrative emphasis and etc. to support that it's still really powerful and no joke, and at least in a form of relativity to the third Kazekage. If you want to, just really not say it's full to the full power or whatever. And no matter what, like, it's a big deal. Iron Sand is the strongest fucking sand out of all. The third Kazekage was the strongest Kage out of all. Okay, there's just so much you can go all day, every day with that line of scaling. So, yeah, I don't know. He's kind of capping there, so.
He's just punching away at the iron blocks and all that. And Sakura in the beginning of Shippuden, sure, she's not weak, but she's definitely not a powerhouse by any means. She is able to one-shot every single puppet she touches. She one-shots the Hiruko puppet. She one-shots the third Kazekage puppet. She one-shots Sasori himself puppet. And all the others that Sasori throws against her during the summoning of the 100 puppets. And you can say, yeah, sure, man, but Sakura is very strong, and that's not a lie. She is powerful. But honestly, everyone else on this list has more firepower than Sakura has, and they would easily be able to destroy the puppets as well. And Sakura isn't exactly very fast. And sure, for most of that fight, Chio was actually manipulating her with her chakra threads, but there are some moments in the fight that Sakura is just fighting by herself, and she is relative to Sasori's speed, and Sakura is not a speedster whatsoever. And I'm not trying to say that Sasori is weak. He's definitely strong. He's definitely Kage level. The only Akatsuki member that's not Kage level is Hidan. But Sasori is just not as powerful as the others on this list. And for those of you who are saying now that Deidara...
So Hidan's not Kage level, but Kaksu is, bro? Are you fucking kidding me? The man still scales the same remotely, base to base, Jonin level, contesting with Jonings, etc. Like, the fuck? Like, if you want to say Kaksu is Kage level because he has 5 chakra natures, by all means, sure, cool, I don't care, that's fine. But to say he scales directly to Kage level, that's blatantly not the case. There's feats and statements that contradict that. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? So.
Told everyone that Sasori was more powerful than him.
Deidara and Sasori are Kage level. But Kaksu and Hidan, I'm sorry, they're not fucking Kage level. I'll say that all day, every day.
This is just kind of disingenuous by Deidara because it's a flat-out lie, and it's very much proven by feats. Any basic Deidara bomb could one-shot any Sasori puppet just by comparing the blasts with the punches Sakura's throwing. They're pretty equivalent to the weakest Deidara bombs, and if he tries the stronger bombs like C3 that he used against the Sand Village, he's destroying every single puppet in Sasori's arsenal.
At the same time,
if you want to see a more in-depth Deidara versus Sasori fight,
what I will say on that, okay, I do think Sasori actually beats Deidara, but what you can say just instantly just to kind of shut down all this weird stuff and whatnot is there's plenty of narrative emphasis. For one, that statement that he just showed, that stated verbatim. Two, you have to where Sasori's constantly threatening Deidara and telling him, like, don't fucking waste my time, you know what I mean, blah blah, like, I don't like waiting. Then there's times where Deidara pisses him off by trolling and running his mouth, and Sasori, like, gets really pissed and goes for, like, a killing blow with, like, his Hiriko puppet. Deidara can at least dodge it, and then you have that, but nothing ever fully escalates because they have to work together for the Akatsuki, etc., whatnot. But, like, I feel like there's just plenty of narrative evidence to suggest that Sasori is definitely over Deidara, and Deidara kind of listens to him as, like, as kind of similar to, like, Kasame to Itachi, you know what I mean? That's the same vibe, basically. And then two, analyzing everything Sasori can do with his 100 puppets, with his fucking iron sand, all the attacks and abilities he has with the Hiriko puppet alone, and his own body as well. Imagine all that shit coming at you. And he can also fly as well, and do shit in range attacks, you name it. So, I'm sorry, but No, Deidara is not beating Sasori, you name it. And once again, he doesn't scale to Sakura either. That's just flat out blatantly not the case at all. If you actually analyze the context and go over that entire battle, it's literally because, for one, Sakura gets mentally amped too. But regardless of the mental amp, like, Chiyo's controlling her, etc., there's so many variables of why Sakura just doesn't get fucking slaughtered. You know what I mean? And with him also being mental nerve, fighting against his grandmother, etc., like, there's so much evidence with that fight. There's so much context to where Sasori does not scale to fucking Sakura. That's just not the case at all. If you're able to get Sasori to scale to Sakura, then absolutely you can be able to put Deidara over, because Deidara fights fucking Sasuke, and we know Sasuke's over Sakura, you know? So, I'm just being real with you, like, I'm just kind of shutting that down. That's kind of like a minor direction he went to kind of make Sakura comparable to Sasori, like, meaning like some relativity shit, and that's just, once again, not the case at all. Like, Sasori is the type of person that can be able to contend with someone like Orochimaru, who also fought Orochimaru in the anime and the game as well, while Sakura was useless and could not even fight Orochimaru, etc. So, once again, there's just so much evidence that you could extrapolate to support that Sakura does not scale to Sasori, Sasori doesn't scale to her, and Sasori definitely would scale over Deidara. Just putting that out there. Anyways.
I've made an entire video about it, and the link's gonna be in the description below if you're interested. Number 6, Konan. And damn, man.
All right.
I'm hoping Jay, shuts that down too and goes over some arguments that you can utilize for Sasori to skill over Deidara too. So let's hear him out.
So, let's discuss that Sasori placement.
Love how it's on
First
the
of all,
boobs.
the Sakura fight isn't a very good one.
Yeah.
Chiyo admits that he could have killed them, implying he could have defeated them, which allows us to imply that during this fight he was holding back to some arbitrary extent. He certainly was. He certainly was, and Sakura had help from the individual that probably knew him better than anybody besides himself, which was Chiyo, right? Yeah. And like Daigo stated, Sakura was aided by Chiyo and her chakra strings for the majority of the fight anyway. That's certainly the case. Now, the Kazekage scaling that Daigo used, to saying that he's nowhere near as strong as a puppet as he was previously, really can't be proven, and I think is incorrect. Yeah. Sasori defeated the man. Sasori defeated the Kazekage. It's actually implied that it was easy. So, why would somebody that's stronger than the Kazekage, when he was alive, utilize a weaker version of the Kazekage as a puppet? That's bizarre.
Yeah, this is crazy.
That's very bizarre.
It has to be relative,
and now,
bare minimum.
The whole scaling with Sakura being able to destroy the puppets can have holes punctured through it with, again, the fact that Chiyo was aiding Sakura with the chakra strings, more than likely amping her speed, and most likely power as well, with chakra literally moving her around.
Or, if you want to be generous with Sakura, bare minimum, she has insane attack potency. Like, Tsunade and Sakura just have insane fucking strength. Even Madara acknowledges their strength. You know what I mean? So.
And the fact that, again, Sasori was holding back to some arbitrary extent. This was certainly not no bloodlust to Sasori. Certainly not.
No. Yeah, no.
This was Sasori reminiscing about his parents, reminiscing when seeing Chiyo about his childhood, and certainly having some arbitrary level of mental nerve.
Conveniently, the plot killed Sasori. That's what you're working with, basically.
Most likely the majority of the fight, which, again, is reinforced by the fact that he gave up at the end, which Chiyo stated blatantly.
Yeah.
Right, so there are very relevant pieces of empirical evidence to suggest that this wasn't simply just Sasori at his strongest losing to Sakura. That's certainly not the case. And Deidara stating that he's weaker than Sasori isn't something that he's lying about. First of all, Deidara has one of the biggest egos in all of Naruto.
Yeah, very prideful, very arrogant.
The only time he ever admits blatant inferiority is to Itachi himself, besides admitting it to Sasori. He did that because he nearly died by Itachi's hand.
Yeah.
Right? The Genjutsu almost made him blow up himself. Yeah. He saw Itachi as a god and that made him resent Itachi and resent the Uchiha. Why would he say that out of nowhere? He's one of the most egoist individuals.
Jay's spitting right now, and just to further enable that and add that on, okay, like Itachi, you have Itachi, right? No different than Orochimaru. Then no different Deidara. Deidara and Sasori, on the other hand, are able to contest against that Orochimaru also at his prime, etc. You know what I mean? So it's like, no matter what, like, they're clearly Soning tier bare minimum, you know what I mean? And they're within that line of scaling, and can even fight against Orochimaru using an Edo as well, and then force Orochimaru to retreat, or whether or not he was forced or not, he retreats regardless. You can take that however you want, but bottom line is they can fight him bare minimum, okay? So this whole Sakura and all this other bullshit just does not work. And once again, we know Sasori's clearly Kage level. He defeated the third Kazekage, who was stated to be the strongest Kazekage out of all. Okay, you know, has all that. Fought Orochimaru to a stalemate, basically, with Deidara as well. And was planning to go fight Orochimaru again, prior, arguably, with Deidara as well. Okay, to meet up on that bridge and everything, because that's the whole point of what all that was. And that's why he told Sakura and Chio about that. Okay, so there's just so much evidence that you can extrapolate from to conclude that Sasori is no joke. Like, Dygoknight is extremely, extremely severely downplaying or underestimating Sasori as a character. You know, whether if he's doing it purposely or not, or just maybe, you know, a form of ignorance on his part, whatever, it is what it is, you know.
In all of Naruto. Why would he lie about that? Some people would counter me and say, oh, it's to have Kakashi and Naruto follow him. And there's better ways to make them follow him. He could have just said, oh, Gaara's dead, and you're never going to find him. Or he could have said, I'm the only one that knows what Gaara is, and I'm never going to tell you. And then run off. That certainly would have made Naruto follow him. Certainly. The very premise for him being there was Gaara. So why would he just go out and say, oh, Sasori's stronger than me? That's not the best way to have Naruto follow him. If anything, that could have backfired. And it could have made Kakashi say, you know what? I'll follow Deidara. You go help Sakura since he's stronger than Deidara. So that train of thought is certainly questionable. So again, the empirical pieces of evidence here suggest that 1, Deidara is weaker than Sasori, and 2, Sasori was certainly not going all out against Sakura and Chio, by the way. People forget that Chio aided Sakura to a very high degree in that fight. It wasn't just Sakura versus Sasori. It was Sakura and Chio versus Sasori. There are many arguments to be made that Sasori wasn't going all out. Chio is his grandmother. Chio made him reminisce about his childhood. Chio made him reminisce about his parents. Sasori had to be mindful of Chio when fighting Sakura.
Yep.
So to downplay him based on that fight, I believe, is a little disingenuous. There's certainly plenty of empirical pieces of evidence to suggest that he certainly wasn't going all out. He certainly was not going all out. And even to the degree that he was trying, again, he was going against one of the best puppet users of all time that happens to know all of his tricks. Chio. And Sakura, who had the antidote to his poison. Think about it like this. He was fighting his kryptonite and still could have won, which was blatantly stated. He was fighting his literal kryptonite. An individual that has the antidote to his poison, and another individual that's his literal grandmother that knows everything about him. And he still could have beaten them. And on top of that, he was mentally nerfed. That's the reality of that fight. It's not simply, oh, Sasori got beat by Sakura, he's ass. No. No. That's incorrect. It's not that simple. And yes, Deidara is weaker than Sasori again. He's an egoist, and there's better ways to make Naruto and Kakashi follow him. Why would he go out of his way to hurt his also important ego to make Naruto and Kakashi follow him when there's better ways to do it? So yeah, Sasori is not weaker than Deidara. That's the whole point here. And the empirical pieces of evidence that I just provided substantiate that. But let's continue.
And the Konan downplay in the Naruto community is just absolutely insane. Guys, Konan is very strong. I don't know why people always put him in like 9th place, because she would definitely beat everyone that comes before her on this list. Without prep time, by the way. Konan's arsenal relies a lot on her paper jutsu, obviously. But that jutsu is actually pretty damn strong. She can produce blades and paper bombs out of thin air. She can clone herself, producing countless paper bomb clones that explode with an equal force to Deidara's explosions. She was able to tag Obito, and people are gonna say, oh, but Obito wasn't taking her seriously. Yeah, sure, yeah, of course, Sasori and Kakuzu would definitely tag Obito if Obito wasn't taking them seriously. Yeah, I can definitely see that. But that's not all. Konan can fly, and she is the best flyer of the Akatsuki. And guys, people underestimate the power of flight in the universe that most people can't fly, and you can. You just have a massive advantage in any fight that your opponent cannot fly, especially if you're a long-range fighter like Konan is. She is also virtually immune to physical attacks because her body just turns.
I know damn well Konan beating Sasori and Deidara is gonna piss Jay off.
Into paper. It's like,
to be fair, the only thing you can really do for Konan as like to further support this notion is that she does defeat Sasori in the game, but then again you have to argue the canonicity. Oh man, I don't know what the fuck it is. My brain is not like saying that word. You have to argue that it's canon basically, and etc. And there's ways to argue for it, and if you're good enough you could argue otherwise obviously, but overall you have all that. That's the only thing we really have as comparing Konan to even remotely to any of the other Akatsuki members. The only other feat she has is fighting against base Jiraiya to a degree. So you have that too. So bare minimum, like if you want to scale her, pretty decently high, you could say she scales to the Sanning. You could also say, she was able to defeat Sasori. And you could also say that she was also able to fight Obito to a good degree. You know what I mean? That's pretty impressive in a way. So like, there's ways to argue for her to how high she can be and etc. But not a lot of people will accept that. A lot of people will be like, nah, she's kind of trash, whatever, blah blah, the whole 9 yards, etc. etc. The only other feats that she has as well is in the anime and manga is her fighting the entire Bug Clan. Like she fights all of them and just kind of stalemates them all, like you know what I mean and whatnot. And they weren't able to do shit to her. So you have that, and she was also aiding Pain and fighting the entire Leaf Village. So you have all that, but overall, that's kind of what you're working with. So
Suigetsu turning into water when he is punched. He doesn't really feel that. And it's the same thing for Konan. She just turns into paper and is not hurt so long as she has chakra left. So essentially you have to drain her out completely before you beat her. Also, she was fighting against the entire Leaf Village when they attacked with Pain. She was fighting the entire Aburame clan, which is one of the most underrated clans in Naruto, and she was doing just fine. And a lot of people are going to mention the Jiraiya fight against Konan, which was a very quick exchange, and people say, oh man, Jiraiya stomped her, but why? He spat some oil on Konan and that's stomping her? Because look at Conan's face here. She wasn't scared at all when she was put in that position. It wasn't as though she was, oh no, Jiraiya's gonna kill me. Now sure, she had Pain backing her up, but would she have lost to a little bit of oil? I don't think she would have. And then of course there is the other fight, her main fight in the series against Obito, which, as I said before, she tagged him, and it's not every character that can tag Obito. Minato could, and Konan could. That may be speaking something about her powers and all that. And then, of course, she uses her most powerful jutsu in that fight, the Ocean of Paper Bombs. And if you're telling me now, oh, that was prep time, man. Doesn't matter because it's prep time. Okay, but shouldn't you include how powerful a character can be with prep time in a list talking about the power of characters? Shouldn't you include that in the equation too? You can give 13 billion years to Kakuzu, and he's not going to do anything remotely similar to what Konan did against Obito, who had to use Izanagi, which is just a cheat code in the Naruto-verse to escape. Aside from Obito, the only... Alright,
so I'll make this quick because I paused several times. That's a false dichotomy, and no, if you're going to use prep time, you got to give all of them prep time. Let's assume that they know who they're battling, and they have years of prep time on top of that. That's what Konan had against Obito. Years of prep time with billions of paper bombs to offset the timer, the sort of timer that Obito has when he...
So I do agree to Jay. You know what I mean? Like he has good arguments in that. You know what I mean? The way he's approaching it, and that's understandable. And I could understand a certain route Daigo's going to a degree to where like if we're ranking the Akatsuki, shouldn't we like put them all at their strongest? Because, for instance, you have Deidara, like, in the fight against Gar, where he doesn't have, like, full prep and everything. He's not using his full, arsenal. To where when he fights Sasuke, he's going all out, and he has everything. You know what I mean? So, obviously, if you compare those two versions, the data that's against the Sasuke, compared to the Gaara is way more powerful. So meaning, therefore, we should use Konan at our strongest, right? So I get what both are saying, but in a nutshell, like formally directly, Konan has vastly way more greater amount of prep for Obito for years. The amount of shit like that's just on a whole other fucking level of prep. And at that point, that's not fair at all. And you might as well, like what Jay's saying, allow them all to be able to prep to that same extent. And at that point, that's just leading to fucking extreme contentiousness. You know what I mean? At that point, So, like, in order for the sake of simplicity, we shouldn't be granting her paper bomb shit. If you want to grant that, obviously that can scale her way higher, obviously, but that's really unfair for the other Akatsuki members. You know what I mean? And that's basically what you're working with. No matter what, like when it comes to Konan and Deidara against like Konan, you can definitely make arguments for her to be below those people. I do think Konan is above Hidan and Akatsuki. That's just me personally. I really do believe that. But for Sasori and Deidara, I have no problems of people scaling them above her. But I do think you can make arguments, obviously, for her as well to even be above those people. You know what I mean? That's just me personally. And then, like, if you analyze her paper stuff and everything, it is kind of busted. It's kind of like a bootleg version of Kamui, to where if you hit her, you just go through her and you don't do nothing. Like, she can't be hurt. I mean, she has a fucking paper body. And that's why even Jiraiya had to use oil to counter that ability, that bootleg Kamui, to where now you can't use your paper and spread and whatever, to where you can be basically invulnerable and not be injured. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty fucking strong, So, like, the fact that was Jiraiya's only way to be able to deal with her, and let's be real, not everybody has oil release too. Just putting that out there. So, chi is a problem to that degree, meaning that most of any attacks that Sasori does to her, or even Deidara, won't do anything, So, I'm just saying, like, that's just kind of what you have, and that's just consistently shown with her ability, to where she gets hit by anything, shuriken, bombs, fucking, fucking, you name it, jutsus, whatever, even Jiraiya's fire style jutsu, like, it just doesn't affect her. I mean, she could just peel, go whatever, and that's it, or better yet, she could even fucking stalemate Jiraiya's fire style jutsu, like, with just her paper fucking shards. Paper, bro! Like, so, like, Konan has some impressive, stuff. You could definitely be able to analyze her as a character and kind of, make some interesting scaling for her. But she's an interesting character. I don't think anything is definitive or concrete at the bare minimum. It is up in the air. There's certain things that can be definitive in a sense, but for the most part, it's just, it's interesting with her. So, like I said, she's a really interesting character. I feel like you could be able to put her either below or above, depending. But obviously, when we get to like the high boys, you know what I mean? Like Pain, Itachi, Obito, etc., like she's not fucking with them. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, she was able to tag Obito, whatever. He underestimated her, and he's also not trying to kill her, because I'm pretty sure it was stated that like he only got hit by that blast because he had to protect her in the process, and obviously protect himself to a degree. So it kind of like delayed his reaction time and everything. And he even like says like, oh, I had to like protect you from the blast, whatever, because I could see you were trying to basically take me with you in a nutshell. You know what I mean? And I can't have that because I need the intel that you have to get the Rinnegan. So, like there is context with that battle too, and that's a whole other can of worms. But that's just kind of what you're working with when it comes to Konan. You know what I mean? But let's let Jay continue to spit.
Ages through things. That's what she did. It took her years of prep time, it took billions of paper bombs, and it took the element of surprise for her to hurt Obito. And she still failed. So no, if you're going to use prep time, give everyone prep time. Which you didn't do, by the way. So, no, you don't use that version of Konan. That's disingenuous, and that's a false dichotomy. We're talking of two completely different individuals. If Konan would have came into the fight blindly, she would have got one-shotted or sent to the Kamui dimension like that. Yeah. Either way, though, I'll say this to give credit to Daigo. Konan's a very interesting character to scale.
She is.
You could scale it a little higher than Hidan. I'll give you that. Maybe a little higher than that. The only problems I have so far is him using prep time for Konan and the Sasori scaling. Those are the only things I have real problems with. The Zetsu scaling's whatever. I might disagree, but it's not that serious. But so far, the list is okay. Again, the Sasori thing I have a huge problem with, and the Konan prep time I have a problem with as well. Why would we use that? Right, when it's
Hey, baby. Are you still sleepy? Are you still sleepy? Yeah? Yeah.
A very specific version of Konan with a huge advantage against Obito. Let's continue on though.
The other member of the Akatsuki that would have been able to escape that would be Deidara because he can fly. So Konan takes the 6th place, very well deserved. Number 5, Deidara. I don't think people understand how strong this guy is. And he was 19 when he died. He had much more room for growth. Deidara's basic explosions are comparable to Sakura's hard punches in the beginning of Shippuden, if not more powerful. He also had much more than that. He had essentially the C3 nuke he could use to destroy an entire village with, the blast of which was comparable to a tail beast bomb, and he was dropping that pretty casually. He can also fly, which, as I said before, is an extremely advantageous feature in a world that most people can't. And we're not even talking about his most powerful jutsus. The C2 Dragon, which can just spit very, very powerful bombs non-stop and also keep you flying away from the range of your enemies. The C4 Karure, which is a one-shot technique against anyone that doesn't fulfill 3 very specific conditions. Number 1, having lightning style to defuse the bombs. Number 2, being able to see the nano bombs coming your way. And number 3, being intelligent enough to figure out how to defuse the bombs. And of course the C0, which is a suicide technique, but I think it's very valid to put it in here because it would give at least a tie for Deidara against anyone in the Akatsuki with the exception of Obito. But his explosions are not everything Deidara has. He is also trained in countering genjutsu, which can be useful against a lot of different fighters. He is very fast, unlike Sasori, who was being tagged by Sakura. Deidara was able to dodge Hebi Sasuke multiple times, and we know that Hebi Sasuke is one of the fastest characters in the series by that point.
He just continues to be dishonest and fucking scales Sasori to Sakura. That's crazy.
In the story, he can also mold his bombs into shapes that will favor him during the fight, like we saw against Gaara, where he used the centipede to infiltrate into Gaara's sand and explode it from within. His explosives can fly too. He can do all types of crazy things. And I was very tempted into putting him on 4th place. That's a very close call, but 4th place goes to this guy, Kisame. Kisame has the highest chakra reserves from anyone in the Akatsuki. He's the strongest water style user in the verse. He stomped Killer B, who was one of the most powerful characters we've seen by that point. And Kisame can essentially drain your chakra until you die and regenerate from it if he sustains any wounds. He only lost to my Guy because Guy was his natural counter. If Hirudora wasn't a physical attack, Guy would have died in that fight against a very fatigued Kisame. And that massive bubble ability Kisame has is just something else. Like, if you don't have a teleportation jutsu or some other hack to get out of there, you're probably gonna die. And now we're moving to the classic top 3, which I believe most people put those 3 in the top 3 because it's kind of obvious. We begin with the number 3, which is Itachi Uchiha. Now, I think there is a fair argument to make in favor of Itachi against either Pain or Obito, and I've made versus battles videos about these 2 fights in the past before, more in depth. So I don't think that the difference, especially between Itachi and Pain, is that great. But Itachi doesn't have as much chakra or durability, for instance. And he also doesn't have the sheer hacks that Obito has. When I compare him against Pain, I usually tend to put him in the same scenario Pain was when he invaded the Leaf Village, and I don't see Itachi doing as well as Pain did in that situation. Of course, that's because of his chakra reserves, and I'm not saying Itachi has like 0 chakra. He has a decent amount of chakra. He fought Sasuke for a very long period of time, then he stomped Orochimaru, kept on fighting Sasuke and all that. His chakra reserves are not low like most people want to say, but they're not as high as Nagato/Pain's and also Obito's. And that's what actually holds him back. And as I'm using the version of the characters that are in the Akatsuki and not Edo versions and other things like that, I cannot really use Edo Itachi here. Otherwise, he'd probably be higher than that. But still, Itachi takes number 3. I don't really have to explain why Itachi is powerful. Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, his Susanoo has the Yara Mirror and the Totsuka Blade. He's also the smartest character in the Akatsuki by far. He's very fast. He was levels relative to KCM1 Naruto. So all in all, Itachi is extremely powerful, and I think there is an argument to make for Itachi against Obito and Pain. Link in the description if you're interested. Number 2, Pain slash Nagato, but the Pain version is the more accurate Akatsuki version because that's what Nagato uses when he's in the Akatsuki. Pain has very powerful abilities, and also he has 6 different bodies, which makes fighting against him pretty complicated. The catastrophic Shinra Tensei and Chibaku Tensei are very broken abilities that hit extremely hard. He also has ninjutsu absorption. His summonings are very strong. That dog summon could solo Kakuzu without much problem. The Asura path can hit pretty hard too. He can extract people's souls and resurrect the other paths of pain. He's a very powerful guy. It's not by chance that he is the leader of the Akatsuki. Well, the quote-unquote leader, because we all know the things that went on behind the scenes, the manipulation and all that kind of stuff. He beat Sage Mode Naruto after fighting the entire village for quite some time, and powerful shinobis at that. He fought Kakashi and killed him. He destroyed the entire village with that Shinra Tensei, and he still had gas to fight against Sage Mode Naruto and beat him. It was only because the Kyuubi came in and fought against Pain. He wouldn't have won that fight. And for number 1, we have Obito, which is here essentially because of Hack's abilities and all that. And it's not very fair to the other members of the Akatsuki because Kamui is exceptionally broken. Being able to phase through things and absorb things into the Kamui dimension is something that kinda negates most of the abilities in the verse. Obito is also very good at Genjutsu, and I have to assume countering Genjutsu as well. He was able to put a perfect Jinchuriki under a Genjutsu, something that should be impossible, but apparently he can. I am not the biggest Obito fan. Well, actually, I like Obito when he still has his mask. I have to put him in here. Out of all of the Akatsuki characters, the only one I can see maybe having a chance of beating Obito, and it's not a guarantee whatsoever, that one would be Itachi. All the others would just absolutely get bodied by Obito. Even Pain even more so because his most powerful jutsus wouldn't work against Obito, and Obito would be able to absorb each Pain into the Kamui dimension until none is left. Of course, that wouldn't really solve the problem because he would still have to go after Nagato to actually win the fight. Obito is more capable of fighting against more powerful people than any other Akatsuki member. And I'm talking about Orange Mask Obito here, which is his Akatsuki version. If we were talking about White Mask Obito or Jubito, that would be even worse for the Akatsuki. Obito is more powerful than the rest, but he is still somewhat relative to the rest of the Akatsuki. It's not as though Obito is a god. We see that there are ways to fight him. Konan almost killed him. So it's not as if this guy is invincible. He himself thinks that if Itachi knew all of his secrets, somehow he could have killed Obito even after he was dead and all that stuff. Let me know in the comments what you think about my ranking of the Akatsuki. And I know this is the only correct ranking. If you disagree with me, you are incorrect. Subscribe.
There could have been moments where I looked like I wasn't paying attention, guys, but I was listening. I'm over here multitasking because I have a bunch of losers and no-life people on Discord that just always want to cause problems because it's just, I don't know. Discord is a fucking shit show. But anyways.
This channel and like this video to help me out.
Jay, and I'll give my final thoughts.
There you guys have it. I just want to get my thoughts on that. So, the top 3 of the list were certainly the best part of this video. I agree. Sekitachi would lose to Pain, and Pain would lose to Obito. It's narratively implied, and empirically, that's just the case. Obito just has better feats. But, top 3 is well done. I actually agree with Daigo there. And now back to the problems, Sasori and Prep Time Konan. I disagree with that. If you're going to use Prep Time Konan, you're going to have to do that for all individuals in the Akatsuki. That's what you're going to have to do. And Sasori was just skilled very disingenuously. Very disingenuously. Just with Daigo just ignoring the blatant empirical pieces of evidence that were presented for him. Right, such as him being mentally nerfed, such as him fighting his literal kryptonite, and Chiyo and Sakura. The literal antidote to his poison is involved in this fight. An individual that knows everything about him is involved in this fight. An individual that is his family member and the direct ancestor to his parents is involved in this fight. He's mentally nerfed. He gives up at the end. More than enough to conclude that he's holding back to some arbitrary extent for the majority of the fight. He's certainly not bloodlusted. Certainly not. So, all in all, Sasori should be above Konan, I'd say, and certainly above Deidara. He should probably be 5th. And now the Konan prep time scaling is just a false dichotomy. Konan without prep time and Konan with prep time are two completely different individuals. And another problem that I do have with Daigo in general, in this video specifically, is him giving very bold claims and not backing them up. Him saying, oh, Deidara with his most powerful ability would defeat anyone in the Akatsuki except maybe Obito. Can you prove that? Or are we just supposed to take your word for it? That's a very bold claim to make. Very, very bold claim to make. Why isn't he higher then, if you think he could beat everybody in the Akatsuki with that ability? That's bizarre to me. It's very bizarre. Or saying Konan, even without prep times, is number 5 in the Akatsuki. Can you prove that? There's no feats for her, so how could you prove it? In general, I have problems with people speaking in absolutes, especially when there's no empirical evidence to even remotely suggest that claim being true. This is very bizarre to me. Why make that claim? You can't prove the claim. You can't prove it. That's like me saying, oh, I can fly. Believe it. Can you prove that? Can I prove that I can fly? No, I can't. It's not provable. Hence, it's falsifiable, and it's negligible. It shouldn't even be considered. It's like a scientist going to the scientific community and saying, oh, I have this hypothesis. It's absolute. And they ask, okay, where are the observations? Where's the experimental data? Oh, I don't have any. You're supposed to just take my word for it. The scientific community would laugh his way out of the community. That's not the way logic and deduction works. You're supposed to back up your premise. That's how it becomes a theory and possibly even a fact. Or a law, so to speak. You can't just simply say these things and expect us to take your word for it. I've always had a problem with it. It's not even just Daigo, it's just in general. I have a problem with that. That's disingenuous. But yeah, folks, that's my thoughts on the list. The list was decent, besides those holes. Besides those few problems that I listed throughout this reaction and right now. But overall, the list was alright. I don't have problems with most of the placings here. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you agree with this list? Am I off and Daigo's correct? Whatever the case may be, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I always read them, and I'm intrigued to see what you guys' thoughts are out there. So please leave them down below. But that's going to wrap it up, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Alright, so, or with everything Jay is saying so far, this is spitting facts. It's completely reasonable and understandable. The only thing I can say, just to kind of add on, when it gets to like the high tier, like the big boys, like Pain, Obito, and and Itachi, you can make arguments all day, every day for those three. You can go all around. You could have Obito at the top, Itachi at the top, Pain at the top. There's just so many ways to do it. It's extremely contentious. I think the most if you had to be like the most humble or most transparent line of scaling for who would actually be above who or whatever, I do believe it would go like Nagato, then Itachi, and then Obito. I do strongly believe that. But that's just me personally. But regardless of however you guys think that, or however it goes, it's totally up to you. And then there is a difference between like Sick and Prime. Even though Sick Itachi is no fucking joke as well, but obviously Prime Itachi would be like even more of a threat, so, or the closer we even get to that as well is even like Edo Itachi, so, but, overall, like, it's good arguments, pretty good stuff. And there's plenty of, like for instance, like if you were just trying to like argue Itachi or Obito and shit, like you could use plenty of narrative implications and narrative arguments and scaling for why, like how Obito feared Itachi, etc., the whole 9 yards, and even like when him thinking in his head that even Dygoknight showed in the video. Like there's so many ways you can kind of go about that, and just figure out what to do and even analyze feats and why Itachi could be able to pull off a W on Obito even as like Sick Itachi. I definitely do think Prime Itachi or Edo Itachi would slam that Obito. That's just me personally. But when it comes to like Sick Itachi, that can just go either way. I don't know. That's a good one. It's interesting. It's going to be an extreme or high diff fight for either or, whoever pulls it off. But because of just how intelligent Itachi is, I do think he can be able to pull it off. If Konan's able to pull shit off on Obito, you're telling me Itachi can't. You know what I mean? So that's just me personally. And Itachi is no joke even while sick. So, but anyways, that's kind of what you're working with, and that'll be the end of this reaction video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, subscribe for more content, subscribe if you guys love the channel, can't speak, and make sure to check out Jay the Great as well. I'll put his YouTube in the description down below too, and be plenty of content on both ends, guys. Diamond out. Peace.